It was late November, in Mysot district, a remote border town where thick forest meets abandoned wells and old wood planks creak under every step. The monsoon had just ended. Water pooled in hollows and vines dripped with moisture. Villagers still spoke in hushed tones about strange noises in the forest at night, cries, distant sobbing, but nothing visible. One night, 22-year-old Liu Chuani, a migrant worker traveling through the border region, got lost while trying to shortcut through the forest after the road had flooded. He slipped, stumbled, and vanished. For 3 nights, villagers heard what sounded like someone shouting from deep under the earth. Faint, spaced-out wails that seemed to rise and fall. Some thought it was pi cow, or forest ghosts, or restless spirits, or even banshee cries from the jungle. They didn't dare enter the forest at night, and police were called, but search teams found nothing. The sounds, people said, were every hour, growing louder as midnight approached, then receding. Inside the small ranger station, a pair of soldiers on patrol dismissively joked that maybe one of the old abandoned wells was the source, but previous attempts by locals to check had ended with them seeing nothing. One old woman claimed the forest floor shifted in the moonlight, that shadows moved like people, but when seen, vanished. On the 4th night, the cries stopped altogether. The jungle seemed too still, as though it were holding its breath. Late that evening, a ranger named Anand heard footsteps far away, then a distinct moan. He followed, flashlight beam darting between trees, tracking sound until he came to a depression in the ground, the opening of a dry well 12 meters deep. The opening was roughly hidden by overgrowth, leaves, vines. Anand called for help. A translator came, then rescue workers. They lowered a rope and a bucket. At the bottom, crouched, covered in mud and bruises, they found Liu Chuani. He was alive, but barely, disoriented, having fallen in and been trapped. He said his cries were mistaken for spirits. He thought no help would come, that he would die there. When Liu was rescued, he was carried out screaming from pain and fear, but silent about something else that had oppressed him. A presence. He claimed that during the nights, as the rescue efforts loomed, he felt someone or something observing him from just above the lip of the well in the darkness. A silhouette in moonlight, long arms, no face. At times, when he screamed for help, he heard his own voice echo, as though someone else imitated him. The villagers who returned to check the well after Liu's rescue found scratch marks around the rim, deep gouges as if claws tried to pull someone up. No camera caught anything unusual, but local children whisper of seeing someone's figure in their dreams, someone who drowns in mud, whose cries sound like wind. The forest remains quiet now, but sometimes at midnight you can hear soft sobbing, indistinct, rising from the direction of that well. Part 1. The Vanishing. In a small, isolated village beside a vast marsh in Nakhon Ratchasima province is Ban Nung Pilok, an area largely undeveloped, wetland fields and thick reeds where locals speak of strange lights above the marsh when the moon is nearly full. They say a spirit called Pipong sometimes appears, a soft, flickering orb, drifting, barely seen but deeply feared. Wikipedia. 17-year-old Pim has lived there all her life, helping with cassava fields by day. At night, she works in a small stall, selling fried bugs and rice wine on the road that skirts the marsh. One night, after her shift, she walks home under the moonlight. The air is thick with mist, frogs croaking, insects buzzing. Her footsteps crunch on dried reeds. She notices a red glow floating above the marsh pool ahead, soft, pulsing. She stops, heart pounding. The air grows still. The glow splits in two, drifting apart. One orb moves closer, hovers above the water, then fades. Pim freezes. She reaches for her phone to capture it. Part 2. The Warning. Next day, word spreads. Other villagers saw something too, a strange glowing light in the marsh. Old Nakorn, the local shaman elder, warns Pim not to follow these lights. He says they lead you into the water or into your dreams so real you cannot wake. He's heard of young people drawn to those lights, vanishing overnight, sometimes for days, returning changed. He mentions that pipong are usually benign but dangerous when the practitioner who tended them loses control. Pim, curious and skeptical, dismisses the warning. She wants proof, maybe even video for her social media. She plans to go out the next full moon with her cousin, Somchai, to observe and film the orbs. The night of the full moon comes. Pim and Somchai quietly leave the village, carrying a flashlight, phone, and a small shrine of offerings, flowers, incense, in a basket. Mist curls low over marsh channels. They reach the shallow pool where the glowing orbs are usually seen. At first, nothing. Then, a soft light emerges. Two small orbs, red and warm, hovering just above the water's surface. They drift slowly. Pim lifts her phone to record. The orbs drift closer. Pim's flashlight flickers. Somchai mutters, "Did something move behind them?" Suddenly, one orb dips underwater, sending ripples out. The other orb moves towards Somchai. He steps back. A shape forms in the water. Hands? Wet, slimy skin? Something emerges, then vanishes. The orb flickers out. Pim, shaken, whispers, "Let's go." Somchai agrees, but finds they are lost. The soft paths they used back seem no longer exist. The reeds' shadows stretch unnaturally, bending the moonlight. A distant whisper, almost a child's voice calling, "Help me," or maybe their names. Part 4. The Disappearance. Pim trips over something in the marsh. Her offering basket spills. Incense burns. She kneels, trying to gather flowers as the whispers grow louder. Behind her, Somchai calls, "Pim!" She turns to see him stand still, his eyes reflecting moonlight, gazing downward toward the water. She moves to him. He seems frozen. Then the orb returns, brighter. It moves up from the marsh pool and sinking into Somchai's chest as though penetrating him. Pim screams. The light spreads, blinding. When she blinked, Somchai is gone. No sound, no ripple, nothing but silence. Pim runs blindly through reeds, screaming. She reaches the edge of the marsh at dawn, collapsed by the path to the village. Covered in mud, soaked, trembling. Villagers find her the next morning. Somchai is nowhere. Search teams comb the marsh for days, but find no body, no trace, only Somchai's phone, lying half buried in mud. Recording static, and a final whisper, "It's beautiful." Part 5. Aftermath and Lingering Fear. Pim survives, but something in her has changed. She wakes each night around the same hour with nightmares of orb lights, marsh water rising around her, the voice calling. She sometimes sees softly glowing orbs out her window, drifting over the fields. The village elders believe some Chai spirit might be taken by Pipung or trapped in some limbo between marsh and world. Nakoran says the failed rituals of someone who tried to control Pipung nearby may have disturbed the balance. Locals begin leaving offerings at the marsh edge, rice, flowers, small candles, hoping to appease the spirit. Pim is warned, never go near the marsh alone at night, never try to record the orbs again. But the lure of proof persists in her mind, the desire to understand. Final scene, Pim, months later, at home. Rain rattles the roof. She checks her phone. Recent nights show faint red spots of light in her videos, just at the edge of the frame. She touches the screen. A whisper comes through the speaker. "I'm coming for you."
If you made it this far, you've survived the night. But remember, not every story ends when the screen goes dark. Some tales stay with you, waiting in the quiet. If you felt a chill tonight, make sure to like, subscribe, and share these stories. Because the more you listen, the closer they get. See you in the next nightmare.